The Cinders of Dezu, written and read by Tonic. A tyrant king, a missing girl, and a journey through a perilous world. Join me for this completed sci-fi fantasy novel read as an audio series. Enjoy the story from here on, or binge from the beginning with the first episode. The episodes are now available on YouTube and Spotify as a podcast. Like and subscribe if you enjoy. My audiobooks are totally free. If you'd like to donate to support my writing, though, check out my Patreon in the description. And now, back to the tale. Chapter 21. Caddock. Raina was cold. She was looking up at the quickly hardening mucus suspension that was holding the steadily forming cocoon. The colorfully bulbous and human-sized larva was wrapping itself very carefully and deliberately around its prospective meal. Raina had interacted with it when she had reached this dark stone-walled room that Caddock had called the Codamoth Clinic. It was a codapillar, and he was actually very nice to talk to. Caddock said it was perfectly safe. More than safe, really. He said that in the wild, a codapillar will find injured animals and cocoon itself with them. Once inside, they secrete a thick liquid substance that has healing properties. As far as Caddock knew, the codapillar ate a kind of foam that was left over from secretions and the healing injuries. It repeated this process until the creature it cocooned is healed. Afterwards, it releases it, sometimes healthier than before. Raina wasn't overly squeamish, but even she thought eating healing foam sounded pretty gross. But as she looked up at a passed-out Orion secured to a suspended bed and being slowly wrapped up by the friendly, pulsating grub, she felt a sense of relief. After he was gored, Orion had instructed her to pull the purple crystal out of his coat pocket. She placed it in his hand, and despite his failing strength, he managed to light it. They ended up shuffling through sanctuary after sanctuary on their way back to the castle. Raina encountered several panicked faces of guards as they caught a glimpse of the injured king on the sanctuary floor before he disappeared again. Once they reached the palace sanctuary, the king's men came running in and carried him away on a stretcher. Raina followed closely and could see Orion fading in and out of consciousness as he lost blood. Before he passed out one final time, Orion managed to look in her direction and mouth the words, "It will be okay," before succumbing to his trauma. Caddock put his arm on Raina's shoulder. She looked away from the codapillar's work to look up at his violet-hued face. "Let's go," he said. "He wouldn't want you to have to watch him like this. It's going to take some time anyway." Raina looked at him once more before she went to a table at the corner of the wall and picked up the root ball she'd been given. It looked like it didn't have any glowing embers on it anymore. "How long?" she asked. "It should be a few days," Caddock said with a nod, "judging by his injuries." He started leading her to the door. "A sovereign bull is not a creature to fool with. For anyone. Not him. Maybe especially not him," he said. "I couldn't see everything, but it didn't seem like his fire did anything," she said. Caddock nodded as he opened the door for her. "It is not a beast that can be fazed by fire. But more than that, it holds a special place in Orion's life." Raina looked up at him questioningly as he walked down the hall. "It was when he first got here," he said. "He's recounted the story to me many times. He came into this world scared and alone. He thought he had died. He said it was just a bright light, and then trees, and just ahead was the face of a Savern." "Oh my gosh," Raina said under her breath. "How old was he?" "Just a boy, 7 years old. and small, skinny, too skinny for his age.
What did he do?
Caddock shook his head. Nothing. There's nothing to do. The bull just stared at him. No anger, no sign of friendliness, just stared. Raina frowned as she considered her own interaction with the bull. There was definitely anger, at least at first. The stories felt very similar, though. Orion always said he felt like the beast was judging him, looking deep into his heart, like it could read it, like it knew.
Knew what?
She said. Everything. Who he was, where he came from, where he was going. Like the bull was giving him a chance at a new life. But the gaze was also a warning to do good with what had been given.
That's a lot,
Raina said.
No offense to him, but I don't think it knows about all that. I got some weird senses from him, but nothing like that.
Yeah, Caddock said. The Sovereign Bull is powerful and mysterious in many ways. But after knowing Orion for as long as I have, I think there's a lot he believes about the world that comes from the inside out, not from the outside in. Caddock frowned. I'm very sorry that you had to go through all that today. Raina looked down at the root ball.
He saved me and then gave me this. He said to take care of it with my life.
Caddock looked at the ball too as they headed up a set of stairs and into a corridor. That's a lot of pressure for a young girl, he said. Raina continued to look down at her strange assignment in silence. You know, Caddock said, it's dinner time and my family is hosting a fine and brave young girl this evening. Raina looked up again. You wouldn't disregard my invitation if I offered, now would you? Raina shook her head with a sad smile. It had been a frightful day in a strange land, and she still didn't know when she was going to see Cairo again. But on the way through the halls, Prince found her and scrambled up her pant leg to her shoulder. He squeaked something about how hungry he'd been all day before affectionately nosing her cheek. Also, there was something comforting about the sights, sounds, and smells of Caddock's living quarters. It was a home within the palace, almost like a medieval-looking apartment that was attached to the north side of the castle. Caddock's 2 twin sons were roughhousing in the living room while his pearlescent-skinned wife prepared something spicy and deeply fragrant in the kitchen. He came up behind her and kissed her on the cheek before making the boys calm down and stand at attention for their new guest. Caddock introduced his wife as Geneva and his twins as Moffat and Polo. They didn't seem to know what to make of Raina at first, but once the boys caught sight of Prince and how he was completely devoted to her, they were enamored. Geneva's food was incredible. She didn't know the meat that was in it, but it seemed like a type of beef in a milky red broth with spices. It had a puffy, thick grain as its starch base, and it was impossibly tasty. Judging by that look on your face, my dinner did you some good, Geneva said. Raina smiled with her mouth full and then swallowed. She extended her little belly full of food the best she could and spoke in her best deep voice, imitating a pseudo-European accent. You want to eat a lot? Go to Geneva's, she said with a smack of her midsection. Caddock laughed. What is that? Raina shook her head. It's a thing my dad says, or I guess we say it. It's our joke. Except the place was called Camille's. We asked a guy at a gas station on a road trip together where a good place to eat was, and that's what he said. With the belly slap and everything. He's an actor, and he got a kick out of it, and we do it whenever something is delicious. She looked at Geneva. It's a weird compliment. I'm sorry. It was very good. Geneva laughed. It's the first time I've gotten that one after I made something. Since it's special to you, then it's special to me. Thank you. Raina gave a stilted, toothy grin.
Did you say an actor?
Said Caddock.
Yeah,
said Raina.
He's pretty famous too, so he likes to go on road trips and stop in small towns with me so we can feel more normal. He says it's not good for me to not be like other kids, so he tries to do things to help me see what it's like.
Said Caddock.
You seem very close to him. Yeah, she said. He's my best friend, but he also is kind of controlling. He treats me like a kid. I mean, of course, I am a kid, but I'm not like other kids. I'm smarter than most kids my age, but my dad acts like I don't know anything.
Caddock nodded his head thoughtfully. Geneva stood up and started clearing everyone's dishes, including the messy, unattended plate of the twins. The boys had left for their room to play with Prince. Raina had first assured the rat that the boys were friendly. Unbeknownst to them, she had also convinced them that they had food in order to seal his cooperation. This appeared to leave them in awe when they saw how eagerly the rodent followed them into the other room.
It sounds like you've led a very different life than most children. Certainly than me. I didn't do much traveling growing up.
You mean you didn't do much traveling until Orion became prince? Geneva said. Caddock conceded.
That's true. I did a lot of traveling then.
Huh? Said Raina.
Oh, nothing. Caddock said. I've just served in this palace my whole life. Not much traveling here unless I was sent out. Orion changed that, though.
Raina's eyebrows came together in pondering.
Wasn't Orion a servant too? Yes, Caddock said. We served together for many years. We grew up together. Then he became the prince, and life changed a lot for me. For the whole kingdom, really. So you were there for the whole white wolf thing, she said. White shadow dog, he said. Wolf is a word for the human world. A species over there that stays smaller and run in packs. But yes, I knew him then. He changed the way things were with Vincarsi after that day. Slowly but surely. And now you rarely see them. Orion told me what a Vincarsi was. It's what they call humans here, right? 'Cause we have powers? Yes and no, he said. It's a term with broader meaning than that. Vincarsi can be human, but they can also be half-human or have human in their bloodline. There's a much more rare type who are born with powers. Harper explained that it had something to do with the latent human genetics in the greater Nam bloodline, or something like that. Who's Harper? Raina asked.
Caddock sighed and leaned back in his chair.
He's an old friend, a human one. Very, very intelligent. So much knowledge he gifted to this kingdom. Can I meet him? It would be nice to meet someone else from Earth. All I know is Orion.
Caddock leaned his head from side to side.
He's not exactly easy to get a hold of. He's supposed to have gone home like the rest of the people from Earth. Like you're supposed to once you find your kin and his friend. But Harper doesn't seem to be interested in leaving. Why not? Raina asked. He's not very trusting of Orion. He thinks he hates humans. Thinks Orion is trying to do them harm. Humans? Said Raina. Why? He likes me. We hang out all the time. He just saved me and almost died.
Caddock shook his head.
I know. It makes you wonder. How can he be so brilliant and believe such a thing?
Geneva spoke from washing the dishes in the sink.
All the humans in Dezu believe it. It's true, Caddock said. After Orion discovered a way to send the humans back, Harper just vanished. He'd given us so much. He helped improve the plumbing systems throughout the palace and in parts all through the kingdom. He brought us countless new victories in the sciences. And of course, that's what a lot of humans have done throughout our history. But he was this generation's savant. I couldn't believe when he, of all people, took sides against the king. He was the one who helped them develop the technology to send them back. He created the conveyance stone, the purple one that the king uses to hop from portal to portal.
Wow, he sounds great. And also crazy? Raina paused and frowned. So, why hasn't Orion gone home? He can send everyone else back. Why can't he go home too?
He's the king,
Geneva said, with a chuckle over a plate she was scrubbing.
Right, said Caddock. But he also feels an obligation. He wants to protect the people like he promised Erasmus he would do, and he can't do that if he goes home. Humans have caused a lot of strife in the kingdom over the years. Immediate power like that can really change people. He feels it's better if they go home rather than stay. That's why all the crossover sanctuaries are over every portal from Earth to here. He even had a plan to teach us all how to send humans home when he's gone. He's told me many times that he hopes to be the last human to stay in Dezu. Certainly the last to rule.
Prince ran squeaking into the room. The twins followed like a tornado into the kitchen, falling over each other and calling out to him. Prince ran up Raina's leg under the table until he got to her shoulder.
"What did you boys do to that poor thing?"
Geneva said, turning from the sink. It's okay, Raina said, stroking the back of her agitated shoulder passenger. I need to get him food before he figures out that I lied to him. I left some in my room, and I'd better get to sleep anyway. I have to figure out that ball thing in the morning. Caddock smiled and nodded as he got up to retrieve the root ball from the living room. He handed it to her after she shook Geneva's hand and thanked her again for dinner. Raina said her goodbyes to the boys.
Don't be overly concerned about tomorrow,
Caddock said as he was heading out the door.
The king will get better, and until then you and I will work on solving that little puzzle he gave you.
Raina lifted the root ball to her face and closed one eye to look inside it. On Earth, puzzles do not look like this. Caddock chuckled.
They don't usually in Dezu either. Just come find me when you wake up. I'll be tending to things as always. Ask any of the servants if you can't find me. I am their boss, after all.
Raina thanked him and walked out of the open door. She looked around and saw a couple servants finishing up their nightly duties. Prince scurried down her arm and found a hole in the floor near a corner wall before the hallway. The walls were stone, but the floor here was wood paneling. Floors like this were often where you could find entrances and exits to the hidden pathways through the castle that no one except the rats seemed to know about. Misshapen and seemingly coincidental holes formed from indentations in the wood were usually code for someone in the know that they could put their finger in and lift to reveal a trapdoor. Usually she would have followed Prince, but as she still wasn't sure how taboo her little secret was, she didn't want to reveal to the servants her classified pathways. She made a high-pitched chirp to him. Prince stopped circling the spot on the floor and looked at her. He protested a bit, and she ignored him and began walking down the hall. Prince considered going into the hole, but he often scurried alone in the walls and tended to enjoy Raina's company more. Before he could decide, his little nose caught a strange scent. A black root seeped out of the hole. It was followed by several more, growing and moving in strange convulsions as they protruded from the floor, overtaking the small opening. As they snaked outside of it and lapped at the edges to find tiny holes in the wooden slats, Prince took off in Raina's direction. He decided that his decision to follow her had been made for him. Hey guys, it's Oliver. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more. Give me your thoughts in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. And check my channel to make sure you're caught up on the latest episode. I'll have regular episodes up until all chapters of this story are fully released, so stay tuned.